Today on our 2017 Ford Escape, we're going to be taking a look at and installing the CURT Class 2 Custom Fit Trailer Hitch Receiver, part number C12111. So here's what our hitch looks like fully installed. It's going to be a Class 2, so we're going to have that 1¼ by 1¼ receiver tube opening. It's going to be tucked up just right underneath our bumper. It has a reinforced receiver tube collar, which is going to give it added strength, but also giving it a nice finished look. Now the safety chain loops are going to be a rolled steel stock style, just loops welded underneath our receiver tube, and they're going to have plenty of room to get most size hooks on or off without having to worry about interfering with anything. Now our hitch is going to use a standard 1/2" pin and clip, which is included in our kit, so you don't have to worry about picking one up. Now our hitch is going to feature a 350-pound tongue weight, which is the amount that's pushing down. And it's also going to feature a 3,500-pound gross trailer weight rating, which is the amount that it could pull. Now I do want to mention you always want to double check with your vehicle's owner's manual to make sure your vehicle can handle that amount of weight. Now the manufacturer does recommend when you're towing a non-trailer load that you use a stabilization strap. Now you can pick one of those up on our website using part number 18050. Now I'm going to give you a few measurements that will help you in deciding for accessories for your new hitch, such as a bike rack or cargo carrier. From the center of the hitch pin hole to the outermost edge of the bumper is 3½ inches. Now from the ground to the inside top edge of the receiver tube opening is 14¼ inches. Now that we've gone over some of the features, let's show you how we get the hitch installed. To begin our installation, I'm going to remove the lower section of our fascia. Now we're going to have 4 fasteners right here. I'm going to be using a T25 Torx bit to remove them. Now right here, we can go ahead and just leave this sitting up in our fascia because the whole thing will come down. Now on each side, right on the inside of our mufflers, we're going to have a push pin fastener. We just take a flathead screwdriver, we can pop the center section out. Once we have the center section loose, it'll actually take the tension off of the tab. Then we can pop out the outer portion, which will release our panel. Now we're going to have one more on the other side, and we can take that out as well. Now if we come to the inside of our bumper here, at the bottom, just outside of our tailpipe, we're going to have a small clip where the silver part of our fascia meets the black plastic. Now we're going to take a flathead screwdriver, and right where that hook is, we're going to push in, and then we can actually just push up and out, which will take our clip out. Now we're going to have another clip like this on the other side, so we can remove that as well. Now with all of our fasteners loose and the clips out, we just come to our fascia and just pull away and out and start working our way across the top. Now we're going to set this aside for now, and we're actually going to tuck this up and out of our way because this is the sensor for the lift gate assist. With the fascia out of the way, we're going to need to lower down our exhaust. Now normally I would recommend using a strap to support your exhaust so it doesn't hang down too low, but if we look right here, it's going to hit the rear axle and support beam before it actually goes anywhere, so we'll be okay. To remove our exhaust, we're going to come to the hangers here. We're going to have 2 bolts that are holding it on each side. We're going to be using a 13mm socket to remove those 2 bolts. Now we're going to repeat the same process on the other side as well. Now we're going to come to our heat shield here on our driver's side. We're going to have one fastener holding the heat shield on our frame rail. Now we're going to need to trim this before we get our hitch and hardware into place. So I'm going to mark out the general area that we're going to need to trim. We're going to want to trim along the edge of our frame rail here. And we're going to want to go past our access hole here, coming straight back to just a little bit in front of our fastener. Now we're going to be trimming all this section right here out so that our hitch can make contact against our frame. Now I'm going to be using a 10mm socket to remove that fastener. Now with that fastener removed, I'm going to pull my heat shield down just enough right here so I can get in here, and I'm going to cut this section out. Now I'm going to be using a rotary tool, but you can use whatever you have available, whether it be a pair of tin snips or even a pair of extremely sharp cutters. It's not that thick a material, but it is metal, so just keep that in mind. So it should look like this once we cut it out. Now we can go ahead and replace our fastener, and we can move to the other side. Now here on the passenger side, we're going to need to trim our heat shield as well. Now on this side, we don't have a fastener holding it in place on the back, so we're just going to come along the edge of our heat shield here, and we're going to be trimming out the flat section on our frame rail so our hitch can sit nice and flush against it. Now right here we're going to notice an oval shaped hole in between the two smaller holes that our muffler bracket was bolted to. Now we're going to need to enlarge this hole big enough so that we can get our hardware through it, just big enough that we can get our 7/16 carriage bolt through. And to do that, we'll be using a drill and a deburring bit, or you can use a wrench, pry it open, or anything just to file away the material just to give you enough room to get that bolt in there. It's always a good idea to just keep double checking while you're going through filing, because you just want enough to get that bolt in there. Now that we have this side done, we're going to do the same thing on the other side as well. Now if we come to the side of our frame rail here, we're going to see that we have a hole. We're almost at the very back. Now we're going to take our fish wire, and I'm going to put my fish wire in that hole on the side of the frame rail, and I'm going to feed it down towards my access hole that we just enlarged. It's going to have it pop out right here. Now I'm going to put a slight bend in it, that way I don't have to worry about it falling out or losing my wire. Now we're going to take one of our spacer blocks, square hole spacer blocks, and we're going to feed it over the coiled end. We're going to take our carriage bolts and we're going to thread it onto the end. Now we're going to feed our carriage block and bolt into the frame. And we're going to start pulling on that fish wire until our hardware comes out just like that. Now we're going to come to the rearward hole just behind our access hole here. I'm going to take my fish wire and I'm going to do the same concept. I'm going to feed it through until it comes out my access hole. Then I'm going to put my spacer block on behind my coiled end. I'm going to thread my bolt on and pull it back through. Now for our last hole here, we're going to do it a little bit different. We're going to take our fish wire, I'm going to slide my block over it, I'm going to thread my bolt onto the coiled end, and now I'm going to feed my bolt through, push it all the way up in there. I'm going to take my spacer block and feed it through. Now I can bring my bolt down. Now this is going to be the same process and the same technique that we're going to use on the other side as well. Now with an extra set of hands, we can put our hitch into place. We're going to lift it up over our exhaust. When we pull our fish wire through our hitch, we're going to want to make sure, obviously the side's going to go through the one hole in the side of our frame rail, but our two bolts and our fish wires are going to go through the furthest rear hole, then we're going to skip one and go to the second furthest forward hole here. Now we can go ahead and remove our pull wires from our bolts. Now being careful not to push them bolts back into the frame, we're going to take our 7/16 flange nuts, we're going to put them on our bolts. We can come back and snug them down once we get all of them into place. I'm going to use an 11/16 socket to snug up my hardware. And we're going to repeat that for all the hardware that we have. Now I'm going to come back with the same socket. I'm going to torque it down to the specified amount in the instructions. Now I'm going to repeat that for all the remaining hardware. With everything in place, we need to double check and make sure that our exhaust bracket holes are lining up with our hitch. Then we can take the M8 bolts and flat washers supplied in our kit. We can put our exhaust brackets back into place, and we can tighten everything down. I'm still going to be using a 13mm socket just like I did to remove them. Now we're going to repeat that same process on the other side as well. Now we're ready to put our lower fascia back in place. I'm just going to line it up, pop it into place, and start replacing our fasteners. Now I just want to mention, you want to reach up here and you want to line up that sensor behind the bumper so they line up with the holes here so we can put our fasteners back in place. Now we just take our clips and they'll lock into place. And that'll finish up our look at the CURT Class 2 Custom Fit Trailer Hitch Receiver, part number C12111 on our 2017 Ford Escape.
Click the link below to shop, learn more, or visit us at etrailer.com.